So one of the most damaging parts of American culture today is the existence of mass shootings. And I have friends, colleagues who have been affected by this mass cultural growth. And one friend in particular experienced the loss of some dear loved ones. And they posted their grief on social media, and I responded to that. And I responded it to in a very objective way. And I really wasn't being cognizant of her feelings. And I was called out for being insensitive. And really, it took me a few minutes to really process that perspective. And I really understood that I was being insensitive. I wasn't taking into account their experiences. They just lost some people that they had spent valuable time with. And in the end, the value of life is really in the moments. It's not so much, where you could project their potential. No, it's the value that you have with them in the times that you're given with them. And so I apologize. I sent a direct message. I apologized to them. I really felt how wrong I was and the disrespect that I was giving them and their loved ones that they lost. And apologies are a very difficult and oftentimes foreign thing for a number of people, particularly, let's say, for instance, Asian culture. Apologies in Asian culture, how often does that happen? How many times do you hear that? Not very often. And it doesn't just have to apply to Asian culture, especially growing up in a family of Asians. This doesn't happen necessarily with mine, but I've heard stories where they value strength, success, that strength of character. The truth is, their success is what they've achieved. And that can be very toxic. That can be very abusive to them, to people intellectually and emotionally. It leads to a lot of gossip, back talk. And I don't like that approach to culture. This can happen amongst groups of friends, groups of classmates, coworkers, where the environment is purely toxic because, they're just not the type of people that want to see any kind of weakness. They rally around strength of personality, strength of character. And it's usually as a protection to their ego, where they see apology as a weakness. And so they always try to front some level of confidence, some level of skill. And they hide their weakness as much as possible because they want to appear as though nothing can affect them, hoping that people will rally around them. And there's times that works. But honestly, the problem with that type of confidence, that toxic level of confidence, is when they see that accountability comes from strength, when in reality, the greatest value you can present to the world and in your relationships is when accountability is conveyed through the strength of truth, not the strength of your skill, your character, whichever. When your level of accountability is based on truth, people can feel your genuine expression. So when you're apologizing, when you're admitting humility and that you need to work on it and that you can't do anything right now, but tomorrow you're going to work on getting out of bed, you're going to work on quitting smoking. When you admit that you're struggling, that's when you can begin to not just work and have progress, but you're also working to develop integrity, accountability. Humility shares that. Humility helps you grow a sense of truth with yourself. And that can be very hard because I think one of the biggest problems in society right now is self-awareness. And we can always talk about how this holistic movement, this hippie type of personal growth movement can lead you to self-awareness. But there's people who use it as the movement as a crutch and aren't really experiencing self-awareness. It took me a decade plus just to be in a position where I can talk about this stuff and admit that I have flaws and know that I need to work on it, because one of the most important practices of humility and accountability is to feel it, is to be genuine about it. It's to know that it is a practice. It's not something that should be normal. It's not something that should be a given. It's something that should be felt and committed and should always be refreshed and renewed every single time you experience it. And for the most part, that's what I wanted to impart to everyone, friends, family, strangers, new friends, whomever. And for Hourglass, I'm JB.